All right, how many of you did not come back this morning? I'm kidding. The ones who didn't come back are the college football fans. Who loves college football? Who's your team? The Ducks. Ducks. How about some Longhorns? Come on, right there. Let's go. Let's hook 'em horns. So you are on. You are on. Go. No, who said that? You're gonna have to leave the room, sir.
No.
We're gonna have to remove you from the room.
I love what Sam said, because he said, it's not a one-shot deal. But wouldn't that be awesome if we could come in here and everything about our marriage could be fixed by noon? That would be really awesome.
We're gonna do that for you today. So lucky
Yes.
you guys who showed up, because everything will be
For
solved.
one low
and
payment of $199.
yeah, we'll get that done for you.
We take a firm.
How many of you weren't here last night?
Welcome. Oh.
Wait, you were here. I saw you. You were here.
You were
That
here.
tells a lot about were you listening. So we won't go too high of a recap of last night, but one of the things that we asked you last night was, does your marriage make God look good? And that idea of what is it representing, what is it showing? And so as we continue, we talked a little bit about the differences, and I hope you guys have them here. I hope you guys recognize that when we actually did that yesterday, talking about the differences and all the different versions that we have of ourself that we bring into our marriage and we bring into our marriage story. And I hope you recognize that for me, even as I was talking about it, it was impactful, simply for the fact that there's so many different versions, right, of ourself that we bring into our marriage. And so I want you to remember that from yesterday, because when you're sitting with your spouse and you're in front of them, it's recognizing, who am I actually talking to at times?
Good.
Because often the person that you see is not the person you're talking to. It's not because your spouse has multiple personalities. Some of you may think that. But it's honestly, if you think about it, if you stand at a river and you see the ripples, you see the rocks, you see what's happening on the surface of that river, you can see it. But what's actually causing that? You've got to get where? Beneath the surface. And you'll see the rocks, and you see all the things that cause what's happening above the water.
You mean the undercurrent?
The undercurrent. So recognizing when you're standing in front of your spouse, is that the person you're actually speaking to right now? Or is it that 8-year-old that was hurt? Is it that person who went through abuse? Is that person who feels, ashamed or went through a crisis pregnancy? Whatever it may be, it reframes and then it leads you to that place of empathy. To step into that place and see your spouse as God sees them. And that's a powerful thing. So I want you to think through more what we talked about yesterday, because I believe, and it's going to lead into today, that's where we see a lot of breakdown. When we don't look to see what is actually happening and who we're actually speaking to at that moment. And again, we also talked about, are you a safe place for your spouse to come to have a conversation with, to be vulnerable, to sit with? Are you in the right position in your relationship with God? Everything that we're talking about, everything that we do is about Jesus. The purpose of your marriage is God, period. Nothing else. To image Christ to the world around you. His grace, His love, His mercy. That is the purpose of your marriage. So, as we jump in this morning, we're going to pray in just a moment. I don't know if you have that music there, Sam. Here, hold my hand. I want to hold your hand.
You're not feeling good. Bible.
Do what I tell you. We rehearsed this, and you said you were going to be obedient today.
God. Do you want a tip jar out?
Like there has to be a moment where you show them you actually do this stuff, Shannon. I think it was a number of months ago, I was sitting outside of our house, and Shannon was inside, and I had just finished a therapy session. I was sitting in the truck, and I engine off, and I was just staring at the steering wheel. Ever have one of those moments? You just stop, and you're like, should I go inside? I'm scared. No, not that kind of moment. But I'm sitting, and I'm staring at the steering wheel, and I'm not angry, I'm not upset, but I'm tired. I was just tired. And tired because it had been a difficult season of just things that God was doing in my life. And I'm inviting you into this because it's so important you understand that we stand here as, hey, me too, us too. We don't stand here from a place of perfection, having figured out. We stand here as a couple who is in process as well.
I don't know who said this quote, but they said never trust a married couple who's never been through at least one crisis. Like they can give you all the great advice in the world, but if they haven't truly been through something really hard,
then we should be deeply, deeply trusted. Thank you, Lord. And right, can you thank God for the things, the struggles we have gone through and the work He's done? Like, so I sat there and then recognizing in that moment that I, in that season of life, was just distracted and disconnected, and I wasn't present with my wife. I was present with the things that I was facing, but not the person who was in front of me that was facing me. And I recognized that I allowed distractions just to become normal. I allowed division just to become something that I accepted. And even doing the right things in ministry and loving my children, doing all the right things around me, but then just distracted. And God hit me in that moment and reminded me, it said, Javier, like, you've let your guard down. You let your guard down. You've allowed things to slip in over a period of time, all these distractions. And the thing is, none of us in this room wake up one morning completely disconnected from the person that we love. We don't just wake up and that happens. It happens in inches. It happens in 1,000 distractions that we allow into our marriage. How do you arrive to where we're at? It's in the daily. It's in the choices, the decisions. We think we want the 5 steps to better sex in 24 hours. Sounds fantastic. Some of you are, yes, please, yes, please. We want the quick tips to better communication. That's great. But if we don't have the foundation right, and if we don't recognize that where the enemy comes in is simply just to get you distracted and divided from the person sitting next to you. That's his greatest ploy. That's his greatest opportunity. He didn't even care if you show up here today. But if you put it into practice, oh, that's a threat. If you do the work, that's a threat. His goal is, and I think all of you probably can agree and you've seen it, is to get you divided. And that's where we found ourselves. Okay, you can go sit over there now. I'm kidding. I said sit. No. While we're busy doing life and doing things, the enemy is working to bring division. And God's been pressing on me consistently, like, wake up. Wake up. Look at what you've let in. I can't remember who it was over there yesterday that talked about joy, and they talked about all the things that and then how it can rob that joy because we've allowed so many things in. So I don't know what this year has been like for you so far. For us, it's been a crazy year. It's been a hard year of a lot of things going on, and a lot of good things too. Maybe it's heavy, maybe it's quiet, maybe you're just doing all the right things, but missing the most important one, of being fully present with a person that is here with your spouse. So today isn't blame, it isn't about shame, but noticing the drift before it's too late. I need you to notice that today as we go through, notice the drift before it's too late. Because we've all experienced it, and none of you intentionally said, I want to get there. But you know how quick it actually happens. Can we agree to that? We have been there often. So maybe you've been asleep, and maybe it's time to wake up emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every arena. We asked you yesterday, how did you get here? Where are you at in your marriage? So today it's God's nudge to say, wake up, pay attention. Pay attention. What have you ignored that needs to be restored? What has drifted? So I want to invite you to be open in this next 2 sessions that we're going to have. Not just to listen, but to let God show you where the drift began and where he wants to breathe life back in to your marriage. So before I have you pray, because we're going to be praying together, I have to ask you one question for this morning. When do you finally draw the line? When do you finally draw the line? When do you stop living in the same house but sleeping in separate worlds? When do you decide that the distance between you is more dangerous than the fight you've been avoiding? When do you quit handing your marriage over to the noise, to the phone, the schedule, the late night scrolling, the endless demands, and start giving your spouse your best again? When do you stop letting prayer gather dust while resentment grows roots? When do you say, this may be where we've been, but this will not be where we stay? Listen, the enemy doesn't need a scandal to take you out. He doesn't. He just needs you to get distracted, as I said, and busy and too tired to care. Every unspoken word, every little grudge, every time you choose silence over honesty is another brick in the wall between you. And at some point, you have to look at that wall in the face and say, we're tearing this down, not another day. No, not another argument, not another silent dinner. What will it take for you to shut the door on the enemy and say, not in my home, not in my marriage, not anymore. Not one day more. You decide today. You decide today. You decide what comes in. You decide what you shift and change. And whether it's 6 months of marriage or whether it's 49 and a half years of marriage, every day is a decision about what your marriage will look like tomorrow. It is the most important relationship in your life that will have a generational impact. And what will the story be? You decide today. You decide today. So stand with me really quick. For some of you, this may be uncomfortable, and I am very cool with that, because some of you in this room, men, I'm talking to you right now, you have not been stepping in and leading simply in the area of praying with your spouse. How many of you pray with your spouse every single day? Okay, a few of you. How many of you have good intention? Yeah. How many of you wives crave just connecting and just praying with your husband on a daily basis? Every hand. I used to pray with Shannon in the dark when we first got married because I was embarrassed. So I turned the lights off and I'd pray in the dark. But we prayed. And it's still tough for us at times too. It is. Life. But you have 30 seconds to hug your wife, or when you head out the door, give them a kiss, and when you're hugging them, pray. Pray. So, husbands, you're going to turn to your wife, and I want you to pray for them. Just pray for this morning. Just thank God for them. If it's uncomfortable for you, just, God, thank you for my wife. Thank you for what you're doing in us and our marriage. Help us to be present today. Whatever it may be, turn to your spouse, and I want you to pray with your spouse right now. Lead them in prayer. So if you're going for it, man, laying on hands, got some oil out, you're like getting it done. Wives, does that feel good? What's that feel like, wives, when your husband prays for you? Like a warm blanket?
Yes.
What was that? You feel secure. Yeah.
We tell Javier that's spiritual safety.
Yeah, it's spiritual safety. And husbands, just so you know, when you pray and when your wife sees you pray, it's really sexy to her. Right? That and vacuuming naked, both of those are really, really sexy. So make sure you do both of those, or both at the same time. Right? Is good.
Men can't multitask, honey.
No.
They can't
But
do two things.
I
Pray
do.
and vacuum? No, one or the other.
And so I do want you to understand, like, part of this morning is we want you to understand we want you to have a Pentecostal marriage. Lots of laying on hands and speaking in tongues. All right? That's what we want. All right, go ahead, be seated. Thank you, Sam. You can lower that down. So here's the thing where we're going this morning. You don't drift into oneness. You don't drift into unity, you decide it. Your marriage won't collapse in one moment. It collapses in the little allowances that we are making on a day-to-day basis. Excuse me. So every time you retreat instead of engage, every time you scroll instead of speak, every time you harden your heart instead of humble your heart, every time you're writing that slow obituary of your marriage. And yet, God is standing here asking you the same question he asked his people throughout the prophets: will you return to me? How long will you waver in two opinions? If I am God, follow me. So when do you stop inviting culture to disciple your marriage more than Christ does?
That's good.
Too many of us are inviting culture to disciple our marriage more than God does. We become disciples of the internet. Where do we go? Well, let's Google that. Let's fix that. Let's AI that. What does it say about my marriage, what I need to do? We allow culture to disciple our marriage more than God. When do you stop giving the devil room in your covenant? And the only answer, again, is only not one day longer. Not one day longer. You make that decision. And it's one you have to make every single day. All right, so men, I always do this every time we speak. I'm going to talk to you for just a moment. So men, prepare yourself. It's going to get a little tight for you all right now. Wives, look straight ahead. No making eye contact. Don't blink. Don't nudge. Don't change your face. Okay? You all sent me emails about your men. I'm going to hit on those things right now. Okay? Pastor Sam has said this, like, it's always very important that when you come to things like this, that you're not here just to listen for what you want your spouse to hear and hope that it's being said, or you'll miss what God has for you. So, man, I can't, every time we gather, I have to be able to address the men simply for the fact that there's so much responsibility that sits with you. I didn't set it up that way, but God did. The requirement. And I know that can feel a lot. I believe within the American church, we have said oftentimes, men, you need to lead. But then we have failed in places of showing men how to actually do that. They hear it and they're like, I don't know what that means. What do you mean lead? Why? How many of you had a great example of a father growing up what it meant to like lead? In this room, there's 3 or 4 of you that raised your hand. How many of you say, like, I didn't have a great example of that, whether it was in marriage or in life or in general? So do you see? Women, I want you to understand also, like, we sometimes start in this place. And us men, we don't go to other guys and say, I need help. Like, we don't tend to do that. We need to, but we don't. The most dangerous thing to a woman is to be following a man who's going nowhere. Or a man standing unsure of himself, tolerating sin as a result, not leading. See, when God said to Adam, don't eat of the tree, he was only saying it to Adam. You recognize that because Eve hadn't been created yet. He told Adam, do not eat of that tree. She was in him, and later was taken from the man, from his rib, and was created. So Adam didn't transfer the value that God entrusted to him into Eve. It wasn't Eve's fault. Adam didn't do his job. Adam didn't do his job. Sin is not ascribed to Eve. She was deceived, but Adam sinned. What should have happened to Eve, who was deceived, when she brought that fruit to Adam, he should have slapped it out of her hand. Right? Girl, put that piece of fruit down. Adam, knowing the penalty of death, should have said to God, I know the penalty of my wife's disobedience, but I don't want it to happen to her. Do it to me.
Yeah. Come on.
Do it to me. He should have died for his wife, but instead he chose to stand there, men, saying nothing.
And die with her.
And he died with his wife instead of for her. Isn't that crazy that Christ died for his bride instead of dying with his bride? Christ was called the second Adam. Why? Because Adam didn't die as he should have. That was his responsibility. So men, the responsibility is on us, and it's heavy and it's weighty, but that's no excuse, men. It is no excuse. You have to submit to God now and surrender yet again every day. The target is big on your chest. I want hell to celebrate when I pass away because I was a threat, because I fought for my family. I advanced the kingdom of God, and because my marriage was the greatest testimony of who he was, of who God is. If you're in the right place with God, then that woman that God has given you is protected. But if you're silent, if you're passive, if you're apathetic, she is uncovered. Think about an umbrella. I know you guys here in the north, you don't use umbrellas. Like if I walk out with an umbrella, you're like, oh, he is not from here. He's got an umbrella. But I got to keep my beard dry, so I use it. But think about an umbrella as a covering. You and your wife are on that. When you're in proper relationship with God, you're underneath that covering. But when we step away or we allow sin in, what are we doing? We walk away and we leave our spouse then exposed. Uncovered. The enemy will come in, the enemy will attack. That's his goal. Men, we're silent, we shut down, and that's what the enemy wants you to do. I know in each and single one of you there is a lion, and we are called to be a lion at home, a lion outside of our home, a lamb in our home. We are called to that. But here's the truth. When you go passive, the enemy goes active. And your silence is not neutral. Your silence, men, is permission. Your inaction is an open door. And we've let the enemy walk into our marriage in places and give him ground that was never his to take. But we give it. He doesn't need you to cheat. He just needs you to start to check out. He doesn't need you to blow up your marriage. He just needs you to stop fighting for it. And when you stop, your wife feels it. She's feeling the weight of what she was not meant to carry. She's not asking for perfection, men. She's asking just to be present. Not perfection, but being present. And when you pull back, men, from leading your marriage, from showing up emotionally, spiritually, and physically, you don't create peace. Some of us, we back out. We say, oh, it'll be better. It'll be more peaceful. There'll be peace if I just back out. But what you're actually doing is you're giving permission and you're creating space. And guess who fills that space? The enemy. And guess what he tells your wife? You're not worth fighting for. You don't have what it takes. You're not good enough. Your silence, men, becomes permission. Just let the enemy walk right into your home. Is this too tough for Saturday morning? Some of you are wishing you were watching football right now, I bet. Silence isn't harmless. Your silence is permission. Your wife's heart, your children's future, your children's legacy, that's what needs to come first. Scripture tells us be alert, be of sober mind. The enemy prowls around like a roaring lion seeking who he may devour. And if you think the enemy's coming in pitchforks and horns, you're wrong. He shows up in emotional distance. He shows up in resentment. He shows up in addiction to porn, to work, your hobbies, anything that numbs you and gets you away. So some of you men, your thumbs are very strong, but your souls are weak because you're sitting there numbing out, or doing this on the game, whatever it is. He's crafty. He just needs you to check out. And here's the thing, you are the gatekeeper of your home. Picture that, men. You're the gatekeeper of your home. God has called you to stand between your family and the enemy. Not because you're the toughest guy in the room, but because you know the guy who is the toughest guy in the room. You're surrendered to the one who is the toughest guy in the room. This means leading in love, stepping into the mess, refusing to back down, men. So don't tell me your wife is a problem. I won't listen to that. I love you, but I won't listen to that. Your wife may have some struggles and some difficulties, and maybe she's carrying some past wounds, but guess what? I said it yesterday. It is still your responsibility to fight for her, not run from her. Self-protection was never the goal. Self-protection is not the goal. Jesus didn't sit back and wait for us to deserve his sacrifice, did he? Aren't you glad he didn't? Wait for you to earn it? Oh, when you do this, and then I'll give myself for you. When you perform this way and do what your responsibilities are as my spouse, then I will step in and fight for you. Then I will love you unconditionally. How many of you signed up for that? We want God's grace. We want his love and his mercy, man. But are we giving that? Are we living that way? Christ did not wait till you deserved it. He took it upon himself, and it became his responsibility, even though it wasn't his fault. Do you hear me in that? It's your responsibility. Men, the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells inside of you. The same spirit, which means you can take back the ground. To stop waiting, to go first, to wake up, to armor up, to show up. Your wife needs a man of God. Kids need a warrior. Don't protect yourself. Die to yourself. And when you do that, you enter into the fray. You enter into that. You fight not because you're trying to fight the enemy necessarily in front of you, but you're protecting what's behind you. Ken knows this because I say it at every boot camp that he's been to and workshop. And I said it last time I was here, but maybe we need to hear it again because, men, you're not the princess in this story. So you've been saying, yeah, but you don't know what she's done to me. Suck it up, bro. You're responsible for you. All of you in this room make a terrible Holy Spirit. Terrible. Trying to change, trying to get them to do what you need to do. But here's what I say. Even if you're navigating a difficulty and you keep showing up and you keep loving your wife and giving yourself and laying yourself down and you don't see a change, then just stop. Stop doing it. And what's the consequence of that? You actually be walking in disobedience because you are called to love, period. You're called to give yourself, period. Not based upon what you see or what you get in return. That's the responsibility. That even if there isn't a change, you can stand before God and say, God, I fought, I loved my wife well, I served her, I moved into her. But also, you can't change just with an expectation, well, if they do this, and then I'll do the next part. Yeah. I'll further change. You are all in, period. God will do the work he needs to do. I mean, this is what happened with us. Like, there was a lot of work that we had to do. Mm-hmm. Yep. More for you, but some for me, but the work that you needed to do, like, God began to soften your heart, soften my heart. Like, we had to do this work. But I never did the work in order to get her to respond and say, hey, honey, look, I've been good for 2 weeks.
Oh, we hear that all the time.
But it's been 5 years of neglect, emotional disconnection. You think 2 weeks fixes it? Look at my good behavior. Like, we hear that all the time. Mm-hmm. You're responsible for you and what God is doing in you. And trust what God is doing in your spouse. And I guarantee that God will do the change. God will move in their life. He will do the work that needs to happen. So in your marriage and mine, the purpose is personal refinement. Marriage, with all its good intention, bad and ugly and all of that, the purpose of marriage, the intent is for personal reformation of both husband and wife. Marriage will chip away at all those areas, those thoughts, those patterns, those things in your life. Marriage will really, truly reveal what you're actually like. It'll mirror back what you're really, really like. And then you got to be faced with all those things. So we must be aware and ready that the enemy has a plan and what he wants to do to bring division within our marriage. Let's not forget that marriage is a warfare, right? First comes
The marriage,
and then comes,
the war.
first comes the wedding, first comes, and then comes the war. And that's typically what we see happen. So don't be surprised because it's hard. How many of you say marriage is hard? Okay. And we actually will push back a little bit on that because we don't necessarily always think that it's hard. I think we make it hard.
Yes.
We 100% make it hard. Is it easy? No. Is the person next to you the one that you love the most, but the one that's going to irritate you and frustrate you to no end? None of you are going to agree with that right now, are you? I would say 100%. There's times she's not my favorite person.
But anything worthwhile is uphill.
Yeah,
So
will cost you something.
It can be hard work, but it's a good hard work. Like, it's worth the time and the investment. There's nowhere else I'd want to put my time and energy into.
Yeah.
Besides my family and my
I mean, who
marriage.
wouldn't want this? Like, you're investing into this.
Oh my gosh.
This is what
This
you
guy.
get. The beauty and the gloriousness of this. Like a fine wine who has aged so well.
Ken, you gotta
Okay,
do
stop
something
me
with
now.
this guy.
All right. Listen, the devil doesn't waste bullets on something that's not a threat. He doesn't. So is your marriage a threat?
That's good.
Is your marriage an example to your children next to you and the people that are watching? When they look, do they see God? What do they see? Also, stop outsourcing what God gave you. Don't expect podcasts, pastors, friends to do the work that only you can do in your marriage.
That's good.
That's great. You said some great things today, Javier and Shannon, like great podcast. But you're outsourcing it to others when you need to do the work. Like you can't Netflix your way to intimacy. You can't sermon clip your way to a strong marriage. You have to show up. Every day you have to show up and do the work. And also recognizing, we said earlier, your legacy is at stake. One day, your kids will tell the story of your marriage. I tell the story of my parents' marriage. It hasn't been perfect, but they have 50 plus years of marriage history. We stand here because we had parents who collectively been married over 106 years. There's a legacy and a testimony from that. And I don't want your kids to have to recover from you. I don't want you to have your kids recover from your choices and your decisions. So that's why this matters so much. I mean, that's why there's so much scripture and what God intended that marriage would reflect Him and His love. It's incredibly powerful. God didn't call us, right, to a passive marriage, but to an active ministry. And so the most important question in your marriage is who is a priority in your marriage? Right? The most important relationship within your marriage is not your spouse, it is Jesus, first and foremost. Jesus first, your spouse second, and then your kids. Should kids come before your spouse?
Nope.
Why?
Because you married your spouse first, and that relationship will be around long after the kids are gone and you're empty nesting. And there's an interesting statistic about the divorce rate is at like 43% last time I checked of empty nesters. So these are people well past that 25-year mark, 25 years of marriage. And they're like, we're calling it quits because we got so busy doing life and family that we forgot the person we said I do to at the altar. And they're like, this is just a roommate. This is just a guy I pay bills with. To call it quits after 25 plus years.
Yeah. Some of this I know you guys know, but here's the reality of it is we don't structure and live our lives in such a way where we set all this stuff as priority and we operate with intention on every single day. And so what begins to happen is as we've been traveling, we work with couples and do our marriage boot camps and all of that, we read emails, DMs that come in. We're seeing now an assault like no other time that we've ever seen before of the enemy trying to break down not just a nuclear family, break down families and bring division within marriages. And that's what he's doing primarily. So from the very beginning, God's design was for what? Was for oneness. Genesis tells us that two shall become what? One flesh, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. The enemy hates anything that reflects God's image, right? So what's the primary weapon of the enemy then is division. You guys realize that when Adam was in the garden, he wasn't attacked until when? Eve came into the picture. That's when the attack actually happened, because that's when he was an actual threat. Because a marriage united under God is a threat to hell. It's a threat to the enemy. So that's why his goal is to separate. So division is not screaming fights or affairs. It's emotional division. It is spiritual division. You stop praying for one another. You drift in your walk with God, convincing yourselves, well, my faith is personal, when God designed it to be shared. It's physical division. Touch becomes rare. Sex is off the table. Even small gestures of closeness fade over time. So it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's physical. Division can wear 1,000 disguises. And we'll talk about them in here in just a moment. Ephesians 6:11 says, put on the full armor of God that you can stand against the schemes of the devil. That word schemes tells us the devil is not creative, but he's consistent. He ain't creative, but he is consistent. And he will keep going, and he will keep plowing, and he will keep digging. How many of you can say he is consistent? We see it day in and day out. He's consistent in that. So before we talk about what things bring division, you've got to name the enemy and what he is. We said it yesterday, your spouse is not the enemy. Your in-laws, even though some of you may say, yeah, they are not your enemy. Your circumstances are not your enemy. You have an enemy, and division is his weapon, and unity is the defense. Unity is the defense. Division means division. Two separate visions, two separate directions, two separate ways that we're going. Division. Breaking up what's been separating things into parts. So if God says the math of marriage is 1 + 1 = 1, that's the math of marriage. So then the assault would be, let's get them to divide. Let's get there to be division. So what we're going to talk about this morning and the remainder of our time in this first session is that distraction, disunity, and disconnection equal division. Distraction, disunity, and disconnection equal division. And we've heard these things, and we know these things, but we're telling you now this is what we have to have in check. When you walked in, you got a beautiful notebook with my face on it. And Shannon's. That's one of the photos.
Do you like that picture?
That's one of the photos I told you. I'm like, why did she choose that photo? Like, I don't look
like
great in
that
that photo. But she chose that photo. Because she goes, I look good, so I'm using it. You want anything before we go on?
No.
All right.
Go.
You want me to keep going? Okay. So we're going to go to number one. Number one is distraction. Distraction. The silent killer of marriages. Right? Distraction is subtle. It is harmless. Phones, kids, sports, work, even ministry. But make no mistake, distraction is one of the enemy's sharpest weapons. The enemy does not come in and start with division. That's too obvious. So he starts with distraction. Most of you in this room will never cheat on your spouse with another person. but we cheat every day on our spouse with our phones, with our jobs, with our hobbies. Every single day. It says there on your screen that distraction is adultery of attention. Robbing attention from one another. Distraction is divided devotion. You have divided devotion. You're devoted to other things outside of your spouse. Even if they're not, even if they're, say it this way, if they're not unfaithful physically, you can still betray your spouse emotionally and mentally by giving your focus elsewhere. So what are we sacrificing our marriage to at times? I spent, almost 18 years pastoring, and I would sit with couples, and I would engage with them, and we'd have conversations. I'd go meet people for coffee, and we'd be hanging out. And what would I tell? There came a moment, because I'm doing the work of the ministry. I'm doing all the right things. Shannon came to me one day and asked me, what did you ask me?
I said, when do I get a coffee date with you?
Yeah. Because I was giving myself to even good things all the time.
Anybody
to serving.
who needed help, Javi would have coffee with you.
Yeah.
To a fault.
To a fault.
Yes.
And it sounds crazy, right? To a fault. Like, that's what I'm called to do. But sacrificing my marriage and my time with my wife on the altar of ministry, never healthy. Never good. Distraction, what does it do? It moves your eyes and attention to someone or something else. What are you sacrificing your time in your marriage to? So talk to me for a moment. What are the things that you know distract and pull away in your marriage?
Work.
Work?
Kids.
Okay. And work, why?
Phones.
Why work? It's significant, it gives purpose, and it gives me identity. So, especially us men, if I don't feel I'm winning at home, where do I go to win?
At work.
If I get celebrated at work for my wins, and whether it's pay or whether it's whatever it is, where do I step up?
Work.
Women, some of you are men, they just want to hear like, hey, thank you so much for what you do, for how you provide. Man, I am so blessed because of how your work ethic blows me away. Thank you. Some of you need to tell your spouse that, even though you're frustrated with him in every other area. I'm telling you now, you tell him that, he's going to be like, oh yeah, thank you. He's going to rise to the level of your honor and your respect.
Yes.
Some of you women in this room need to invest into the man that he's becoming, not who he is right now.
Yep.
You need to actually speak life about who he is. You want your man to rise up, celebrate him, even when you don't feel like it. I guarantee there is something you can look at your man and say, ooh, I like that about him. I love that about him.
Even the when I'm sitting with a wife at a workshop or boot camp, and she's listing off all these things that she's genuinely frustrated with him about. Like, I understand their genuine frustrations of years of neglect or emotional abuse or division and distraction. And I say, but I think that we could come to an agreement. You can find one thing that you love or admire about your spouse. And they said, well, yeah, there's this thing that he always does, and I'm so appreciative of it. When's the last time you told him that? Never? Years ago? So as frustrated as we can be with our spouse, ask yourself, is there something that I can value or appreciate them even in the midst of what we're facing or going through, that I could verbally communicate to them?
Yeah. And it changes then how you see your spouse. It shifts how you view them.
And it changes the atmosphere of your home.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's crucial.
Yeah. We spend so much time looking at what is not good or what is not. It's very easy to do those things.
But we don't
very
have time
easy.
To celebrate what so
work, what else is a distraction for you? Like personally, what is it?
Phones.
Your phone, really? That's so hard to believe. Why is this phone a distraction? Takes your eyes away from them. There's
Uh,
no end to it.
oof.
This thing knows exactly everything about you, and it begs to be picked up. Your phone knows you better, 100%. That's sad. And you know what's crazy? An inanimate object. It is a phone that has no power over you unless you give it power.
It's good.
Don't complain about what you permit. Again, your thumbs are strong, but your soul is weak. Your thumbs are strong, but your marriage is weak. Oh, it's my grandson. Isn't he cute? Sorry. I just saw he's wearing a little Texas shirt, little Texas Longhorns.
He's
All right.
watching the game.
The phone, this digital pacifier that we give ourselves to. And I can't tell you the amount of couples we meet with who this is one of the greatest divisions in their marriage and sources. And some, it's because that's where they're going. It's where they feel accepted, valued. It's where they feel a connection, a false sense of connection. And someone will say, well, he doesn't listen to me. Well, she's doing this. So we escape. We can spend an entire session talking about your phone and what we need to do.
Yeah.
We are the most connected but disconnected society. We are so disconnected from one another. Look around you. Go to a restaurant and look at couples sitting there at a table with their family, and where are they at? Right here. Disciples of the internet. Googleites.
It's interesting because when we were engaged, we did a premarital course.
You had to page me if you wanted to talk to me. And I went to a phone, like a payphone, remember? Put a dime in there and pick it up, disgusting phone like you'd hold over here. Like, yeah, I had a pager. I thought it was so cool with my pager on.
But there was no course or a chapter in our premarital that talked about social media.
Nope.
But we just finished writing a curriculum for a premarital course, and we did a whole entire chapter about social media and the use of it in your marriage. That we had to spend a whole chapter talking about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the day and age that we're in, and these couples that are getting married right now, this is what they're facing.
Yeah.
This is what they're dealing with.
Yeah. Okay.
It's crazy.
Can we be honest? How many of you say it can be an issue for you, this thing?
Yeah.
It's a big percentage of you.
Yeah.
Why? Why? It what? Numbs you? What's that? Immediate feedback. So we live in a culture of like, I want answers now. I demand answers now. I want things quickly. And our society, I can get online and I can order stuff and Amazon drops it on my porch that next morning. We're a society that wants that now. And then we turn and we look at our spouse like, why isn't this changing? Why isn't this shifting? We demand it in our lives. Then we turn and we demand it from our spouse when you're called to walk with them in peace and timing to allow God to heal and to restore, but we want it now. And it doesn't happen now.
Can't microwave a good marriage.
No, amen. Say it again, sister.
Can't microwave a good marriage.
But we want it now. We demand the answers now instead of allowing God to do a full, thorough, complete work and just wait. Somebody else had their hand raised. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Everything. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's everything.
Yeah.
No, it's everything. Like that's what we go to.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like most irritating thing to me is I sit in the room and I see all these families who they're sitting there and all of a sudden like they're out on their phones and like you're not connecting. Like the most important people in the room are there with you right now. What is so important about out there? The person who's posting the fake pictures that's not even real about their own life. But yet, like that's where we feel our attachment and our connection ultimately, right? So we're gonna keep going on this, and so distraction is a thief in disguise, and distraction will whisper, "Hey, just one more email, just 10 more minutes. Like I got time later." But distraction will steal these things from you. I think it's on the screen. Distraction steals presence. You may be in the room, but you're not in the moment.
Mm.
Distraction will steal intimacy. Connection dies when attention dies. And distraction will steal legacy. Your kids are watching, like how you treat your spouse. Do they see undivided love or divided attention? What do they actually see? What are they actually seeing? So, moving from distracted, we have to move to present and engaged. Like how? Name it. Stop pretending you're just busy. Call it what it is. You've been giving your spouse the leftovers. Just call it what it is. Call it what it is. We are all busy. Can we just affirm that?
Yeah.
When people ask you how you're doing, don't just
Busy.
answer busy. We all know we're busy. That's my pet peeve. How you doing? Oh, we're busy. I know you're busy. We're all busy. I asked you how you're doing. We're going to be busy. Life is crazy. Those of you that don't have kids yet, I don't know if you have kids over there, like you're going to have a whole new marriage when you have kids. And then you have the second one, and you have to build a whole new marriage with the same person. And it's going to get busier. But if you don't fight for what the most important thing is, everything will distract you from it. Everything. And those of you who are older, you recognize, you look back, you're like, holy cow, how did we get here? Where did time go? The brevity of life. So repent and reprioritize. Go back to your first love. Your spouse isn't begging for more hours. They just want your undivided heart. Put up your guardrails. Give your first fruits. Guardrails means like no phone in the bed. One night a week, no distraction. Sabbath. Sabbath. We have cell phone free day. One of the things I admired about Charlie, and one thing he actually told me, like he started doing one day, Saturdays, no phone, no media, no technology, nothing. Disconnected. Disconnect to reconnect. Sabbath. Sabbath. It's actually a commandment. Disconnect. It was hard for me to Sabbath. You know why? I felt guilty. I got things to do. I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to sit and watch a movie on a Sunday afternoon. That's lazy. I had to give myself permission to actually Sabbath. Give your first fruits. Your marriage doesn't need your leftovers, it needs your first fruits. If you don't kill distraction, distraction will kill your marriage. Not at once, but slowly and subtly. So ask yourself this question: what are you giving your attention to? What are the distractions that you are bringing in that are feeding you and the ones that get the best of you, and your spouse is not getting the best of you? Some of you need to take a moment as Shannon starts to talk about this next part. What are the distractions that I know I have brought in? It's my phone, it's TV, it's a game, it's my hobbies. What are they and why? Why? Why are you bringing those things in? Because those things I can tell you over a period of time will bring division within your marriage, guaranteed. So disunity.
Next one, if you're taking notes, disunity. The word dis means apart, away, not having the opposite of. So disunity kind of masks itself a little different in marriage because your marriage can, on the surface, pretty much keep functioning with disunity. I don't know if we have a slide for disunity. Do we not have a slide for disunity? I don't think so. So, how many of you have ever taken your car to the mechanic because you heard a funny noise or it was doing a thing, and the guy says, "Ugh, there's something wrong with your car, but it's going to keep working. Like, you can still drive it." You're like, "Great, I'm leaving. I'm not going to pay for this to get it fixed," right? You're like, we're out of here, right? Disunity masks itself in that way in your marriage because we can be in disunity, but we're still having dinner at the table together. We can still Netflix our favorite shows. Like, we're getting along. That doesn't mean that you guys should sit in disunity. Oh, Shannon says it's okay if we have disunity. Our marriage is still going to be okay. It's not what I'm saying. So the word unity means the state of being joined together as a whole, oneness in purpose, heart, and direction. So unity in marriage isn't about being identical. So we're not looking for you to become twins. That's not what unity looks like in marriage. Unity looks like this. These three things, if you're taking notes: agreement, harmony, togetherness. Agreement on the big things. You need to be in agreement about your faith, your values, and your vision. There has to be agreement. I mean, theoretically, we would like you guys to have these conversations before you get married, but here we are. Harmony in how you treat one another. Togetherness in facing life's challenges as one team. Disunity doesn't show up loud, it creeps in quietly. Couples rarely blow up into disunity. It starts small. Just some unresolved conflicts, few minor arguments. There were some unmet expectations. And just little by little, you just start putting a few bricks down. It's not this gigantic wall yet, but we're just like, last couple months you've made this promise and you're not following through, and I'm remembering it. I'm keeping score, and I've built a few bricks, and just slowly creeps in. Phil Jackson said this: the strength of a team is each individual member. The strength of each member is its team. So how you work with your spouse in unity is vital to the health of your marriage. Proverbs 21:9 says, better to live on a corner of a roof than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Hear, hear.
Disunity feeds off of silence and selfishness. When couples stop talking honestly or start protecting self over us, disunity grows. James 4:1. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Do they come from your desires that battle within you? It's no secret that we're selfish. Like, we all are inherently selfish. I think even some of you talked about that yesterday under signs you were standing under. God created marriage to give us a mirror to how to deal with our selfishness, how to die to yourself daily. So again, unity is not about becoming twins. There's a unification within our marriage, but we're doing different things. He has his job and his things he's doing. I have my things that I'm doing. But there's unity in agreement, faith, value, and vision. There's harmony because we have an understanding of how we treat and respect each other.
Yeah, I think it's the understanding that it's not uniformity.
Yes.
You guys get that? Like, there's differences, so we need to be in unity, but it's not uniformity that we have to both be exactly the same and the same person. Because, like, you're created differently. And so those are embracing those differences again. So unity does not necessarily mean uniformity, that we both are the same.
No. But I think that's also the beauty of being that we're so different. is that we're not going to see things the same way. We're not going to view the world, politics, all those things the same. But it's being able to come together and have a dialogue. Like the differences shouldn't divide us, but actually unite us. But the enemy knows that if I can get you guys to be divisive about these things, I win.
Yeah.
He wins. So disunity in marriage, it looks like this. Silence instead of speaking, bottling things up, letting bitterness grow. Anybody in here ever done that besides me? Honest conversation, even when it's hard, choosing vulnerability over hiding. That's how we combat disunity. Competing with each other. My way versus your way. Your way sucks. I don't like your ideas. That's a dumb idea. We shouldn't do that. Completing each other, our way under God's way. I think that's been not a source of contention in our marriage, but definitely things that come up because Javi has a strong personality, but I have a strong personality. Am I the only female in here with a strong personality? Please don't leave me hanging. Where are your hands at? Get them up. And Javi will say, I think we should do A, B, and C. And I'm like, I think we should do E, F, G. And here's why. Shannon, I love you, but I really think we're going to go with A, B, and C. Oh, I don't know. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm sensing. And I would say early on in our marriage, that felt like that rope, like we're really pulling in different directions until we learned and we grew into trusting each other, listening to what's being said instead of formulating my response. Like, wait, okay, tell me more about why A, B, and C would be great for us to do. Like, why? Why do you think that would be the best? And then I want to share with you why I think our way. And we've had to grow in how we trust each other. And I believe that, Javier, you've come so far, honey, and you're trusting my discernment. It's not that I need to be right, because I don't typically have a competitive spirit. I'm not the girl who has to win at every game. It's really not my personality. And I'm not like, see, I was right. Like, I don't need to be right. But in my marriage, I want to be heard and I want to be listened to. Can I get an amen from the women? We want to be heard and we want to be listened to. I might not go with A, B. We might not go with E, F, G that I picked. But at least I felt respected, heard, and understood so that there's unity moving forward.
And men trust also your wife's discernment. Your wives have great discernment. They will see things you do not see. Because we dumb sometimes.
We dumb.
Like we don't see it. And I got to trust and lean into her discernment at times. And times where she's better equipped to make a decision on something. We homeschooled our kids. She was better equipped to make those decisions than I was. So she did. But we would talk about stuff, and if we didn't agree on something, we'd say, okay, well, we may not fully see each side, but let me rephrase that. We did agree like how we're going to move forward. Mm-hmm. We had different opinions, but we came to agreement. She trusted my leadership, and if I failed, which I did many, many, many times, she would do. She would say, like, okay, let's reset. Now, inside, she may have been rolling her eyes and saying, you should have listened to me. But we agreed. We were like, okay, we'll walk out of this room. Let's do it. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, let's reset.
Yeah.
All right, or you can get angry and upset at one another, or you just reset, and then, okay, let's do this again, and you keep moving forward.
So disunity, spiritual isolation, praying alone, never together. But unity in marriage is you are a spiritual covering for each other. You pray for and with each other. Disunity, viewing your spouse as the problem. We told you yesterday, your spouse is not your enemy. Recognizing the real enemy is the devil, not your spouse. Ephesians 6:12. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Physical separation, no touch, no intimacy, no pursuit. There's disunity in that. But in unity, there's physical pursuit, affection, sexual intimacy, and daily small gestures of love. I was talking to somebody after yesterday's session, and I gave her a couple things to do to create connection, because we were talking about, she's like, just texting him isn't enough. That's not working. And I was like, because we equate a text to our spouse like pen to paper. They are not the same things. They are different continents. But there's something about a written letter, a voice text, but standing face to face with your spouse and giving them those affirmations that they need. And sometimes we selfishly withhold. Anybody ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
Building walls with criticism, contempt, defensiveness. What we should be doing is building bridges with encouragement, service, sacrifice, and your presence. Disunity, me-centered mindset. What am I getting out of this?
Yeah.
Instead of this God-centered mindset, how can we reflect Christ through our marriage?
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you said. What is your marriage saying to the world?
Yeah.
Do you make God look good?
Yeah. So distraction, unity, disunity, and number 3, and we're going to take a break here in about 15 minutes. Number 3, disconnection. Disconnection. And this is where distraction, disunity lead, right? Silence, coldness, no intimacy is disconnection. On the screen, you'll see that disconnection in marriage is the gradual drifting apart of a husband and wife, emotionally, spiritually, physically, where two people who once shared intimacy and unity and purpose begin to live parallel lives instead of united lives. That's disconnection. Biblically, it's the opposite what God designed in Genesis 2:24 when he said the two will become one flesh. It is the opposite. Disconnection is when one flesh becomes me and you again. Becomes me and you again. Disconnection looks like emotional withholding, spiritual, no prayer, physical, distance in affection, practical, just talking about the kids and bills, logistics. Like that just creates a disconnection over time. And disconnection doesn't raise red flags like here I am. It's dangerous because it just feels normal. It just feels normal over a period of time. I mean, I have heard Chan tell me, husbands, have you heard this from your wife before? Like, oh, I just feel disconnected to you. And have you ever heard that? Like, what do you mean when you say, I just feel disconnected from you? Because I'm like, we just spent time together yesterday. We watched and sat on the couch and watched a show together. Honey, I'm right here. How do you feel disconnected? We had sex this morning. Didn't we connect?
Oh, what did I mean by that? It means several things. Emotional intimacy, spiritual intimacy. It means more than just spending time together. Just because we went out to dinner and walked through a few stores, what I mean, and maybe some of the other women mean, is did we spend time together? Did we have talks? Did we have discussions?
Yeah.
Do I feel seen?
Yeah.
Do I feel heard? And do I feel valued?
You guys hear that? Feel seen, heard, and valued. So that whole thing about when she says, I don't feel connected to you, like, she actually wants that intentional connection, being present with your spouse, doing things together. All right, men will say, hey, we connected last night. We had sex. She's like, no, you just borrowed my body. Like, we weren't present. You didn't connect. I mean, for a man, connection is like shoulder to shoulder all the time. For women, it's face to face. He's like, we bonded over fixing the lawnmower, didn't we? Like you handed me the wrench, like we hung out together, we fixed it together. She's like, no, but we didn't spend time looking at each other and connecting and being present with one another. So sometimes for guys, he believes saying, "You good?" once a week is connection. Hey, you good? All right, sweet, awesome. We good? Okay, good. That's not connection. That's not connection. Like men and women confuse presence with connection. Just because you're in the same room doesn't mean you're in the marriage.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're in the marriage. I mean, we'll fix a Wi-Fi faster than we'll fix our marriage. We'll fix that disconnection issue really quick, won't we?
Yeah.
To get back to our phone, to feel connected again. How does it happen? Here are the warning signs of disconnection in your marriage. Think about these. We stop serving one another. When there's a high level of connection among a couple, they willingly and intentionally serve one another. It's subtle withdrawal. Couples who are disconnecting find themselves in different rooms doing their own things or on their day off instead of doing life together. I'm not saying you can't have your hobbies and do things that you do separately, because that's important to do.
Yeah.
When Shan tells me to take a hike, I literally go take a hike. She tells me to go fly fishing, which I love to do, I go fly fishing. Like, she knows what refreshes my spirit. Do you know what fills your spouse's bucket? Do you know what fills them up and refreshes their spirit? Let them do that. I come back a better man when I stand in the river for hours with waders on. I don't care if I didn't catch anything. I just stand there, and I feel amazing. And I come back, and I'm a better husband.
Yes.
I just needed that to reset. So, subtle withdrawal. Selfishness. I find myself looking to get rather than give. That's a sign of disconnection. A critical attitude, a sign of disconnection. You find yourself nitpicking your spouse's every decision, choice, every habit. Ruth Graham was quoted saying, "My job is to love Billy, not to change him." It's to not change him, but to love him. A critical spirit is often an indication of a suppressed anger.
Yeah.
A lack of touch is a sign that there's disconnection. One of a woman's greatest needs is for affection. One of the greatest needs of a man is sexual fulfillment. For us, it's a little opposite. Like, I want the affection. I'm kind of like, "Hey, can we cuddle on the couch?" She's like, "No, drop your pants." I'm like, but I just want to, can we spoon? And she's like, "No." I'm that guy. Is that too much for you guys this morning? Come on, lighten up. It's real. Like, we swapped, and like I'm the one like, "Hey, can you just hold me? It's been a tough day." It's weird, but we've switched roles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Get your hand off my butt." Like, I just want you to hold me for a moment. But when there's disconnection, we don't have that actually. That's a sign when there's not that when there's that lack of touch, it shows this place of disconnection is starting to happen. When you have contempt for your spouse, right? The Gottman Institute with the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse talks about one of the greatest predictors of divorce or disconnection in your marriage is contempt. Mm-hmm. When you start having contempt for your spouse. Also, impatience. All you patient people over there want to work on patience? Impatience. Marriages require selfless humility. If you find yourself being snippy or short, investigate why. Disconnection. Distance will cause you to wander. Disconnection will cause you to wander at times. Connection and intimacy die in the margins of neglect. Connection and intimacy die in the margins of neglect. When you stop pursuing, in the book I'm reading, he said, love that's not pursued begins to feel assumed. Begins to feel assumed. And a marriage lived on assumptions will eventually die. When you stop chasing each other, the enemy will start chasing both of you. And this is why we can't stop, because some people just say, "Oh, we're fine. We're fine. We're fine." Fine sucks.
Yeah.
Fine isn't fruit. Fine isn't freedom. Fine isn't the legacy that you were meant to build. Fine isn't for finishers, for those who want to finish strong in their marriage. Fine is the enemy of fulfilled. Fine is the enemy of being fulfilled. Who signed up for fine? How's your marriage? Oh, it's fine. I didn't sign up for fine.
Come on.
So I got to fight for that. Drift will happen. Drift will happen. Nobody accidentally drifts into a connected marriage, but you quickly drift out of it. You quickly drift into disconnection. Am I correct? Very quick, overnight. But nobody drifts into a connected marriage. It doesn't just happen. We must be what? Intentional in that. Intentional. So the antidote to drifting, the antidote to disconnection is intentionality. Write that down. Intentionality. Intentionality. It isn't optional. It's an essential in your marriage. Your intentional choices, decisions, actions on a day-to-day basis. How are you intentional in your marriage? Some of you are checked out even right now in this moment. Because it sounds all up here. How do I do this? Just day in, day out, small intentional moments of moving towards your spouse in love, in grace, in forgiveness, in laying down your life, giving yourself on their behalf. Intentionality. That little by little you start seeing God move and change and soften their heart. Intentionality.
Intentionality is also becoming an everyday servant, which is how we intentionally show up every day in service of what our spouse needs.
Yeah.
Making their life easier, better. You don't need to go buy a brand new car and bring it home. Nobody cares about that. But
Well, some might care about that. I take it.
But if you showed up to their bedside with their favorite hot coffee, it's just those small intentional acts of how you show up change. I'm telling you guys, it changes the atmosphere of your home. When we learned to become everyday servants of one another, it radically changed our marriage.
It did. Intentional marriages don't wait for the crisis. So they invest before the drought. An intentional marriage prepares for the storm. Mm-hmm. It pursues before there's an actual drift. Successful marriages do consistently what others only do occasionally.
That's good.
Successful marriages do consistently what others only do occasionally. Intentionality is work. It's not a feeling. Otherwise, you're going to start running on autopilot. So stop waiting till you feel like it. Well, I don't feel like it. Feelings will follow action. Take action. Move. Discipline will build intimacy. Stop making excuses. You make time for everything else that matters, but then we're too busy for our spouse. Oh, we don't have time for that. But you had time to binge that show or sit and scroll, but you don't have time to have that conversation with your spouse. Be ruthless about your priorities. Because really what happens, you make excuses. Excuses are just permission slips for your own neglect. That's what they are. So die to yourself daily. Stop expecting easy. Face the gap honestly. Stop pretending things are fine when they're not, because disconnection grows in denial. Say it, name it, call it what it is, and begin to rebuild the emotional intimacy, the spiritual intimacy. Stop placing your kids first. They don't get to go first before your spouse. They need to see you serving, loving, sacrificing for your spouse. That will paint a picture for them of what they expect when they get married. I wanted my girls to marry men. I wanted to be the standard of what they would look for. And by the grace of God, they have. They have found men who love God, and hopefully would be better men than I was. But from my shoulders, I painted that picture. This is what they should. Not perfect. Pretty darn close, but not perfect. Remain connected. Have guardrails up. Fight for connection. Stay consistent. Again, disconnection will creep in pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Sam, you can play that music if you have it. As we close the session, I hope you hear what I'm saying right now. Division is a goal. Distraction, disunion, disconnection is a method that the enemy will use to get you away from one another. I hope you've been hearing what we're saying. And I know you've heard these 3 words before, but if you pause and you looked at your marriage right now, you recognize, man, I have allowed some disconnection come in, and this is what it is. I have allowed some distraction, and this is what I got to fight for. And you might change it over the next 2 weeks, and then quickly it can get right back to where you're at. You got to be aware of it and daily work on these things. This is the enemy's goal, right? Is division. What God wants us to do is be able to walk in oneness. If division divides, oneness brings wholeness. Oneness brings wholeness. Oneness is being unified, whole, harmony, oneness, union. And that's where it started on day 1. Even the book of Genesis, to bring man and woman together as one. So everything the enemy has done since that time was to bring division. And first and foremost, you know what he wants to do? He divides you and me from our personal walk and intimacy with Christ. So it's not even about your spouse. And even all the things you're hearing today, it's not even about your spouse. It's about what we allow to come in that separates us from our Heavenly Father. And out of the overflow of that, it impacts then our wife and our children on the line. If the enemy can go after you and get you out of your first love, then he'll remove you from your second. Some of you also don't have a marriage problem, but you have a worship problem. Who or what are you worshiping? What is stealing your affection and what is stealing your time? You can even idolize and exalt marriage to a place it should not be. Because the most important relationship in your marriage is Jesus. Period. Period. That's where you fight the battle. That's where you win. That's where you need to start again today. I want to read you something from C.S. Lewis. Listen to these words. He said, "First things first. To love you as I should, I must worship God as creator. When I have learned to love God better than my spouse, I will love my spouse better than I do now. Insofar as I learn to love my spouse at the expense of God and instead of God, I will move towards the state in which I will not love my spouse at all. But first things first, and we get second things thrown in. Put second things first, and we lose the first and the second. When first things are put first, second things are not suppressed, but rather increased. First things first. So I want you to stand with me as we end this session. And yes, we always create moments where you have to look at your spouse. See, because in the middle of disconnection, distraction, disunity, the person that we quickly miss is the person who's right next to us. They're the ones who get sacrificed first. And we've all done it. We have all done it. So hold hands. Looking at your spouse, right? This is where you started, face to face, with all the hope and the expectation of a life in front of you. The words you spoke, the vows you made were unconditional. You said for better, for worse, sickness and health. But here's the raw truth. Many of us look to our spouse to fix the ache inside of us, to meet or fill a void that only Jesus can. And when they can't, because they were not meant to be, we grow bitter, we grow resentful, disappointed, even disillusioned. Don't look at your spouse for only what Jesus can provide. But as you look at your spouse, I want to remind you right now, this is the person that God gave you. Not a perfect person, but someone who will get it right every time, but this is your person. This is your person. You know why? Because you said, I do. This is your partner in this fight. Like I said yesterday, you are their blueprint for healing. So if it's tough right now, what are you responsible for? What have you been holding on to you need to release? What distraction or disconnection has come in? what grudges, what things have you been holding on to. So look at them and see them and ask yourself, what have I allowed to come between us in this moment? So husbands and wives, as you're looking at each other, I want you to repeat these words together to your spouse. I will not let division win. I choose you again today. I release what has come between us. I will fight for oneness. I will love you. I will serve you and stand with you unconditionally. What God joined together, no enemy, no distraction, no disunity will tear us apart. We are one, and by God's grace, we will remain one. Amen. Give him a smooch. We're going to take a break, but before we do that, just recognize these are reminders. Everything that was going on right now, even like, you know, Ken and Kim know this because we do that at every event, like just the power of turning towards one another, the power of actually looking at your spouse. Because of distraction and business, we don't do that. We say I love you passing in the hallway, but we don't stop and just look and say, hey, I love you. I'm here. So take moments where you do that. So when we get back, we're going to talk about how do we put this into practice, and it's a mindset shift we have to have about what we're called to be in our marriage that enables us to be able to walk all of this out. Okay? And then we're hopefully going to have some time for some questions at the end. So it is 10:48. So you'll have a little bit more than a 10-minute break. So be back in here by 11, and then we'll get you guys on your way. So we'll see you here in a few.